So there's been a lot of talk about who Trump will pick for ATF director, or better yet, would he actually defund the ATF, get rid of it altogether? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about, because Trump is shaking the ATF to its absolute core more than any other president has done. And I'm going to tell you whether I like the moves he's making or if I don't. But I want to hear your opinion after the video as well. Let me know what you think. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, I do want to talk about whether I believe Trump would actually disband or get rid of the ATF. But first, I want to talk about how he's shaking things up. And one name that's come across that I think is kind of interesting is Blake Masters. Now, he's relatively unknown, even though he's met with Trump, he's kind of campaigned with Trump, he's out of Arizona. It's not like his campaigns have really caught on like some of the other ones. So you may not know his name right now, but there's a potential that you could see this guy as ATF director, but is that a good choice? Well, let's talk about who he is. Blake has actually lost 2 runs for Congress in 2022 and this past year. Even though being endorsed by Trump both times, he still lost those seats. Now, why he lost them and all that, that's for somebody else to talk about in another video. We're focused on his history with the Second Amendment and with guns. And while he's relatively new to the scene, there's one thing you will see Blake do that not a whole lot of other politicians out there are going to do. Even if they haven't won anything yet, you won't see a lot of them do this, and that is stand there and talk with a suppressed honey badger.
But if you're not a bad guy, I support your right to own one.
Now, I'm a little partial because I just got a honey badger too, and admittedly, they're just freaking cool. But regardless, that'll be coming up on the channel at a later time. The point is, he's talking about what the gun is actually used for.
This is a short-barreled rifle. It wasn't designed for hunting. This is designed to kill people. But if you're not a bad guy, I support your right to own one.
You know, most politicians kind of tiptoe around this whole thing. They're like, well, you know, Second Amendment, you know, hunting, concealed carry, yeah, you know, they kind of quiver, you know, almost a little bit. Maybe not literally, but you can see on the inside, they kind of just don't, they want to make sure that they don't piss anybody off, but then they don't look extreme. To some people, it's an extreme position. If you talk about what this gun specifically is actually for, right? Or it can be used for other things, let's just be honest. But still, what are guns for, right? What are some of these guns for? And I agree 100%. They are to protect yourself, not just from outside forces out of your home or out of your vehicle or wherever you're legally allowed to be, but also from a tyrannical or a potential tyrannical government. That's freaking awesome. You don't hear a lot of politicians say that, established or not. There's one other thing that I've heard Blake talk about that I think is interesting, and that's talking about how gun violence is an issue, but not in the way that most of us hear it. Most of the time we hear it, it's portrayed as if it's gun owners. But what Blake has said is that it is an issue in one specific community primarily, and that is in the black community. Now look, I have a lot of black people that watch my channel, and I have black friends, right? And we don't really care about that here. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be realistic and you look at what the CDC has put out when it comes to predominantly black neighborhoods compared to white, well, the answer is always going to be the same. You see that is predominantly in those communities. Why that has to be some kind of divided thing, I don't know, because if you recognize that that is truth, there can be a goal to help eliminate that, right? That starts with a number of different things that, again, are beyond the scope of this video. But starting inside the household and working outwards to, you know, get better opportunities or whatever the case may be, there's still, you got to recognize the issue first, or otherwise you're just going to be talking in circles and trying to get people to vote for you every 4 years. Well, very similar to, well, you know.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024. Yes, we will.
So I think that's an important issue to bring up, right? Now, does that have a lot to do with the ATF? not really, but still recognizing that gun violence in those communities is higher, and then maybe trying to find a way to make those communities, or help the communities help themselves to make themselves better, right? Because you got to be able to help yourself. Government isn't going to step in and do anything, and obviously ATF isn't either. But not having an ATF that cracks down on black, white, Hispanic, whoever, being able to own and possess firearms, whichever ones they want, not focusing on pistol braces, which, hey, all you gotta do is search around, look around. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of black creators on this platform that do pretty awesome work. And a lot of them have big followings. And guess what? There's a good majority of all of us, black, white, whatever, that like pistols with braces. It helps the firearm be more stable, helping it be more effective. Yes, sure, 100%. But also helping you be more accurate and safe with that gun too. Suppressors, it's not all what we just saw in the CEO United Healthcare situation, it's protecting your hearing. There are a lot of potential things that ATF, a new ATF director that thinks the way Blake does, that could actually help all of us in return. Maybe instead of putting forward rules that, make 80% lowers and trying to redefine what frames and receivers are, and again, pistol braces and all these hot button topics with NFA items and all that they look at one day, and it really just depends on how this guy is feeling, what side of the bed he woke up, and he says, oh yeah, 80% frames and receivers. That's totally fine. Totally fine, you're within the law. Then the next day you have Dettelbach waking up saying, well, no, we need to look at this further.
I'm not sure I'm in agreement with your characterization.
That would be nice to not hear about that stuff, or things that we could actually get pushed through the Senate, through the House, signed, boom, you have a pretty good situation, or a potentially good situation. Somebody in there that understands firearms and understands this community, 100% is what you need.
Unlike you, I'm not a firearms expert to the same extent as you may be.
And somebody that honestly has the balls to kind of stand up to this stuff when the pressure is on. Next time there's a tragedy, something like that, and say, hey, we're not looking at people's guns and their rights, we're looking at the person. Doesn't that sound nice? I think there's a lot of potential there. Now, with Trump defund the ATF, I don't see that happening. Taking more money away from the ATF, though, would be a good thing. And any director that understands the gun community, that gets in there, needs to 100% make that agency as small as humanly possible. You see any sign of corruption, you're firing people left and right. Somebody that's not afraid to take some heat, and whenever heat is brought their way, they're not afraid to stand up and tell people, hey, we're not messing with people's rights, we're not messing with their guns, we're gonna make this thing as small as humanly possible and be able to run it in a way that doesn't affect people's rights at the end of the day. So there you go. That's my opinion. I don't think he'll disband it, but I think getting somebody in there good, that could be good for all of us. That's just my opinion though. Let me know what you think down below. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.